Greetings and welcome to Tarot Time, and I hope everybody is doing well on this Sunday morning. If you're watching this as a video, hang out. I'm going to give the live people a minute or two to get their notification. We're going to jump on in, and I'm going to discuss a couple things that are going on in the world, astrologically and numerologically, and then dive into some tarot work. So we do a meditation card for the week to tap into the energies of the week to give us a basically a process that we can do to enhance our energy and to make the most out of the energies that are happening. Then we do a 3-card spread, and I've got other divination tools. So let me just say a few quick hellos. And firstly, did you guys miss me? Yeah, we took about a week hiatus, although I came back a little bit early because I uploaded a video yesterday that apparently you guys like because it got 20,000 views like within a day. So yeah, what's the video about? Oh my goodness. Anyway, it was a good one about what's going on in the world and such. So let me just say a few quick hellos. So who's in? Hello, Karen Suki in India. Thank you. I'm glad that I'm back. I haven't been able to look at the Schumann frequencies. Where did that comment go? Here we go. So lots of water and grounding today. Yeah, I'll discuss a little bit about the Schumann resonance also, because we had a very hi Lucretia, Roseanne, Katie, and Chris and Colleen. Happy 249th birthday to our country. Yes, happy Independence Day. Hello, Joe Meyer. Thank you. Namaste, Jared of Jaredton. Hey, Jared, welcome. Namaste. And hello, Kathleen. And alrighty then, let me grab a little water. So it's a hot morning here in the Catskill Mountains. It's well up in the 80s already. Hello, Mary. Hello, horses. I'm Dana of Spirit Attunement Meditation. Awesome. I don't know exactly which one that is. Is that one that I uploaded on YouTube not that long ago, a couple of weeks ago? It's a good one. Namak. I can't even pronounce my. Yeah, Sunday morning's not my best time to talk in Sanskrit, but namaskara naram. Oh, goodness. All right, I'm going to stick to English for right now. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Karma. All right, so people are slowly coming on. So you keep seeing my relationships. I haven't done a short. Well, I did one. What was it, Monday? But that was just a lead into the July psychic forecast to the longer video. But other than that, I haven't done a short for a whole week. Hello, Marcia, and anybody else that's new. If you want to say hi and where in the big wide world you are watching from, feel free to do that. So anyway, yeah, the old ones pop up. Yes, thank you. All right. So, what's been going on? The spending bill passed, so that's one thing. AKA the one big beautiful bill, and I'm not going to talk a lot about that today. It's just I get so much conflicting information just about everything else that's going on. It just is another thing that's really like enhancing and creating that divide or deepening that divide. And that's just been sort of the pattern for a good while, but we've really seen it ramping up, in the last, decade or two. Forced division, the more divided that we are, the less in our power we are as a general rule. Yeah, and that's not to say not to have a view or an opinion and to act on it by any means. By all means, express your voice and express your free will or your will, whatever the case may be. But you're going to find when there's so much disparity and there's such a deep divide that the truth's going to fall somewhere in the middle of that. It may lean more towards one side or the other. It's going to fall somewhere in the middle. So I'm hearing some people, talking about that this is a lead into the quantum financial system. What's going on? I hope that that's true. I don't think the current the fiat dollar or whatever it's called, the system that we're in now is really working. And then people are very concerned about Medicaid and social services being cut on one side, then the other side saying, no, that's just for the illegals. It's not for, the legal. Um, from where I'm sitting, these things can be abused and misused, basically. So the purpose may be one way, but it could be leveraged in another direction and actually harm legal residents of the United States. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that for right now. Just a lot's coming out on so many levels. I think by the end of the summer, we're going to have more of a handle of how this presidency is going to come out. And yes, I know I've been predicting a chance that Donald Trump's presidency might end in July or into August. It seems like these timelines just keep getting stretched and stretched. So it may take a little bit longer, or it may not happen. It just seems like there's still a lot that needs to be sorted out, and a lot that has to be kind of fine-tuned in the collective and the timelines. I think the broad timelines are kind of set already, so it's really now a matter of the details, the fine-tuning or whatever. So that's that. But what I really wanted to talk about before we dive into the tarot, which I have I have the Ace of Cups on the bottom too. Who's falling in love? New beginnings of the heart, of positive emotions. We just had a really horrendous flooding event in Texas recently from the remnants of Tropical Storm Barry getting caught up in a mid latitude upper atmosphere disturbance that just rang out all that moisture in one area. Now we have today Tropical Storm Chantal, which really almost became a hurricane. It made landfall already I think it was in South Carolina to maybe northern Georgia. In that area came ashore. So another area that's prone to flooding. And in the psychic forecast, we did alert you, the world. It's hard to pinpoint exactly where these events are going to happen, but we did, and my others also did alert you to the fact that flooding and winds and severe weather was all going to be increasing due to a lot of factors. But this raises, the question that we've been seeing for a while about weather modification, and also was it Marjorie Taylor Greene? Was it? See, I don't have a lot of time to research all the political stuff. Just kind of came out with a proposal to make all forms of weather modification a felony or illegal or whatever. That includes chemtrailing, trying to cool the atmosphere, use of silver iodide for cloud seeding, and all kinds of stuff. So a lot of people, whenever there's a major weather event, people are like, it's modified. It's, they control the weather. It's not natural, basically. So I tend to be a little bit of a moderate in these things, because I am a trained meteorologist. That's what I graduated from college from. I love the weather my whole life. I've been following it. I've been following climate changes, all that kind of stuff, and it all plays in. And there's levels of weather influence or modification that may not be necessarily be purposeful, but is very real, just based on human activity, as well as the changes in the solar cycles and everything. So these questions, do tend to come up, and my feeling again is that there is, whether it's being modified, whether that's happening, to what degree it's happening, that's very debatable. And yes, the world is getting warmer, and yes, human activity plays some role, but that's not the whole thing. And I think a lot of people had that aspect wrong about it, to be quite honest. And I saw a very interesting video yesterday from Stefan Birds, the geophysicist who I love, and he kind of broke down a lot of things that I felt and believed. But it was nice to see somebody else putting that information out there. But in any event, where are we going with this, and how are you guys doing? Uh, and this is also our community hour, so I like to call that. Yeah, no, I studied that, and one of the things that I studied as part of my major was climate change, and I graduated in 1980. For a brief history of that, up until around the mid 70s, climatologists believed that the weather was actually getting cooler. They were concerned about a developing ice age, actually. Now, mind you, climatology was a new science then. The 1960s featured some very cold winters in the U.S. I remember as a kid, it would snow like all the time, basically. And in the early 1970s, it all changed, and winters became very mild in New York City, where I grew up. And that kind of continued. But fast forward to around the later 1970s, then they started to sound the alarm about global warming, about burning of fossil fuels, so forth and so on. And now it's become a big debate as the world keeps getting warmer and so forth and so on. So we have that going on, but um, and like I said, human activity, in my opinion, your opinions may differ, and that's fine. We like to debate here as long as we're polite and respectful of each other. But it's definitely not the whole story. And if you take things into perspective, this is just a minor blip in the history of the world. We're talking about what, the last 50, maybe 70, 80 years. This may go on for another 50 or 100 years. That is like in the course of a day, that's like 1/10,000th of a second. The earth is a living being. It's a system that all is connected to each other. The earth is going to be able to counterbalance anything that humans are doing. So let's understand that. Let's not overstate that. But that said, when we burn the fossil fuels, right, or coal or whatever it is that we're using for energy, that would not include solar, at least not so much, or wind powered, or even nuclear energy, which actually is safe and efficient, other than the fact that if something goes wrong, it could radiate the entire planet. That would kind of suck. But that's actually a clean energy. But the thing about fossil fuels is that's potential energy. And then when it's burned, it becomes kinetic energy. That's basic physics, right? So fossil fuels, they were once trees or animals. They get their energy from the sun. They store all that energy. We burn the fossil fuels and we release heat into the atmosphere through our cars, through our factories, through a lot of things. So we are literally releasing heat into the atmosphere. That might even be more of a factor than the increase in carbon dioxide, which is a greenhouse gas, but it's not the most efficient. And as a matter of fact, water is more of a greenhouse gas. And when you burn the fossil fuels, it divides into CO2 and water. So, there are some myths, in my opinion, on the mechanisms of that. And the other thing about that is that there are ways, without spraying chemicals into the atmosphere that's toxic, there are ways of balancing that also. Anyway, that's basically what I have to say about that. And not to be not to be or ignore the fact that we have a lot of cell signals, right? We have the 5G networks being built, which is a faster but less efficient than 4G in a way, or it covers less distance. And that's really in the microwave to the very high radio wave frequencies. Now, what do microwaves do? What does your microwave oven do? It excites water molecules. It produces heat. So basically, we are living in a soup of low level microwave radiation that heats water, basically. And we have more water molecules in the air because we're burning fuels, basically. And as the temperature rises, like a 10-degree rise in temperature holds about 7% more water in the atmosphere. So just these technologies, and we don't hear so much about that, right? And then there's other factors like the sun. We've actually been in a sort of a very minor broad solar minimum, even though we have our solar maximums every year. Like the 2014 solar maximum was one of the lowest that we've had. And granted, it's only 0.07% of the sun's output. But when you have lower maximums, it's a little bit less heat. So the sun's actually, while the temperature's been warming on the earth, the sun's actually been cooling a little bit. Oh, thank you for the super sticker, Al. Appreciate you. Thank you. These are just some things to think about as we're moving on. So back to weather modification, yeah. Um, and are there other mechanisms like HARP technology? That's spelled HAARP. I forgot what that stands for. And basically, what that is, it's sending it's ionic energies or plasmic energies into the ionosphere, and it can produce artificial auroras. Basically, now the question is, back to the recent rain in Texas. It's hugely tragic. Lots of prayers go out to them. Is that caused by weather modification, steering weather systems? Is that even possible? I believe it is to some degree. It may be experimental, but if you change the temperature profile in the upper atmosphere that drives the surface weather system, you would actually effectively steer storms. And could HARP technology, it can produce auroras? That's a lot of energy, right? If that was aimed not at the ionosphere, but rather in the stratosphere or even the upper troposphere, could that change the temperature profile? When the temperature rises in the upper atmosphere, it creates high pressure. When it gets lower, it creates low pressure. These upper air patterns, they're usually like waves, right? Everything's waves. So if you change the temperature, you change that wave pattern, and it steers the storms. So it's theoretically possible. Is it being done on a large scale? Personally, there's so much conflicting information out there. Honestly, I do not know. And I don't think anybody knows that doesn't work with the government or work with that high level. People share memes, they have their beliefs, and then they or whatever. But I don't think anybody knows for sure. But I just wanted to mention that because it was on my mind. It seems like an extreme event. And the events that are happening, they're not unusual. What is unusual is the frequency of it. But a warmer atmosphere is going to produce more oscillations, including more cold snaps, believe it or not, because it oscillates at upper level patterns. So it's going to transport more air from the poles. It's going to transport more air from the tropics northward. But predominantly, it's going to be more warm than cold. So for every about 100 record lows we get about 500 or 600 record highs, basically. So anyway, interesting. So what do you guys think about that? Thank you for sharing what this means. High frequency active aurora research program. Thank you. 7.5, very special energy. Thank you for that. And you believe it's being done. There's reason to believe that. In my opinion, there's reason to believe that. Doppler steering, Doppler, those radar systems, they're a breakthrough for tracking weather systems. But again, microwaves, 5G, wherever it's coming, your microwave oven can boil water, right? Now it's a very low level. If you have a Wi-Fi and you turn your microwave on, it interrupts the signal, right? There's a reason for that, because Wi-Fi signals also trend into the microwave frequency of electromagnetic energy as well. So you have more microwaves, you have more heat, basically. And with these Doppler radars, it's creating this grid, basically, that we're constantly in a very low level of microwave, and we're subject to these frequencies, these artificial frequencies. So what do we do about it? It's not doom and gloom. There's things we can do about it. Do your heart brain coherence. This is why we tell you this every freaking live stream, right? Heart brain coherence. In fact, tomorrow, because I don't think I'm going to go. I was going to do something, but I don't think I'm going to do it. So 7/7 is an important date, and I'm going to get to that in a second. And we'll get to our tarot card, I promise. But anyway, if you increase the resonance of the heart, the largest electromagnetic generator in the body, it makes your field stronger, more resistant to the artificial frequencies that we're subjected to every day, basically. And where I live, there's no cell signal. It's inconvenient in some ways, but I'm not subject to that. But certainly I'm subject to Doppler radar and that's radiation also. So we're always subject to that. It's just the world that we live in. Don't fear it, right? Do something about it. Take good care of yourself, increase your resonance, increase your fields. Try not to, be too subject. Oh, I don't have my shungite with me, of course. So I'm being subjected to more anyway. So anyway, what else are you guys saying? You're welcome. I have a microwave that I haven't used in a couple of years, and the reason that I haven't used my microwave is I used to every now and then like wake up and just so dizzy, and it was really hard to function, and I thought there's something wrong with me. And then a couple days in a row, it happened after I microwave food, and I realized that, so I stopped doing that, and I never had the I mean, I do get some vertigo. I think with the energies. I think we all get that to some degree or another, especially if we're doing spiritual work, but nothing like that. So that. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even read this comment. Surrounded by idiots. Welcome to the world. Privileged people who don't remember what their parents or grandparents fought against, or no idea that it has worked dozens of times. It was already tried and true. Yeah, very good. And shungite is. Yeah, I have plenty of shungite around me. I just don't have it with me when I should. When I'm on computer and have my cell phone and acting as a webcam, it's like practice what you preach, right? Yeah, that would be nice. So anyway, so how are we doing? So tomorrow, actually very, very early in the morning, Uranus is going to go into Gemini, and that's what I did the video on. Like we have 4 outer planets. All the outer planets are in a harmonious positive alignments. They're either trining, sextiling, and in the case of Saturn and Neptune, they're actually conjunct. They're forming the apex of a double or triple sextile. So basically, Uranus has been hanging out in Taurus. Uranus is about sudden change, release of energy, surprises, evolution, revolution. It's also the great awakener of the cosmos and the higher octave of the planet Mercury. So it's been geographically, it's been sextiling Saturn and Neptune and trining Pluto for a good while. But astrologically, it hasn't been, at least not in Western astrology. In sidereal astrology, yes, but not in Western, because it hasn't hit Gemini. It hits Gemini tomorrow, so then it'll also be an astrological. At least some Western astrologers don't consider, if you're not in sextiling or trining signs, even if angularly it's sextiling or trining, it's not considered that. And Western astrology just takes the movement of the sun for the signs, whereas sidereal astrology uses the actual constellations. So that's the difference. So it's the movement of the sun. So every time we have a summer solstice, which we just had, we go from Gemini to Cancer, basically. And thousands of years ago, the constellations did line up with the solar movement. So that's why we got the names of the sign. But I'm a Libra, but my son's actually in the constellation Virgo, so I'm the constellation Libra because it's moved. So anyway, so we have that, and the fact that all 4 of these outer planets have changed signs recently. Pluto's been, the last 4 years, has been changing from Capricorn to Aquarius. That's the only one of the outer planets that's not going to retrograde back. The other 3 are going to briefly retrograde back to their old sign. So when Saturn and Neptune retrograde back into Pisces, which is the last sign, that's the cleanup time, because that combination, Neptune reveals illusions and delusions, and Saturn is very Capricornian. It's about the governments, the financial systems, and stuff like that. Uranus will retrograde back into Taurus. When Uranus is in Taurus, it's really putting all that energy into the earth, all that changeable energy into the earth. Now it's in the air. Now, granted, it's on the cusp, so it's really acting in both ways. But once you hit that 0 degrees, you're in the other sign. So it's going to retrograde back. So later in the year into next year could be a real big spike of a lot of geological activity. So those things that don't happen in the summer, I make psychic forecasts that not all my predictions verify, to be honest about that. And yet, I look around, and I wouldn't say that I'm the best precognizer, is that the word, prophet on YouTube, but I look at other people, and I know that I'm good at it. Basically, not the very best, but I know that I'm good at it. And I look at other forecasts. After I've done my forecast, there's a few favorites that I have. Nobody hits on everything, because it's just not possible until the future happens. We don't know the future, because it's all predicated on the energies of the now anyway. But that said, there's certain predictions like Japan, and that was another thing. God, I keep forgetting her name, that prophet's name, but apparently, because I believe that she had predicted July the 5th, I was not accurate with that, and I on that video that I did yesterday, in both the pinned comment and the description, I think I added that, and no, I didn't yet. But anyway, apparently she made the prediction on July 5th of a different year that Japan would experience a mega tsunami earthquake in July 2025, but apparently it wasn't specified for the 5th. And that's probably why myself and others weren't really feeling like anything was going to happen yesterday. But they are, they do have the earthquake swarm going on. They keeps getting stronger, so something might happen. So anyway, but now Uranus is going to Gemini, which is Mercury rule, which is the lower octave of the ruling planet of Aquarius, which is Uranus. It's more active. Like it's in a happier place. It gets a little bit bogged down in the Earth sign. Now it's in the air sign. It really expresses. So changes are going to start to speed up, probably exponentially, over during the summer into the autumn. We'll see signs of that. Again, I was never one to say that the whole world is going to change in a matter of months, because that's just not how the physical universe works, basically. But we are going to see some towers falling. We are going to see some exposure. We are going to see some changes. But this is still years in the making. And once Uranus, finishes its retrograde in 2026, goes back into Gemini a little bit late. I think it's March, but I might be wrong about the month. Then it'll be in Gemini for good, and we're going to see a lot of changes. 2026 through 2028 going to be huge years on planet Earth, where technology and spirituality are really going to start to clash, and a lot of governmental stuff and a lot of ideologies are really going to start to clash during that time. So the big show is still a couple of years away, but we're going to get a very interesting preview these next few months. So on that note, I'm sorry that I'm taking so long to actually get into the tarot. We're almost a half hour in. Let's do our meditation card. Hello, Bobby. Welcome from New York City. That's my hometown. Yeah, okay. Your sun is in Leo, so we're gonna have a very active Lionsgate portal this year. Yeah, so I'm just looking here. All right. Well, moon is coming up. What is the moon? I think moon's in Sag now. So we have a full moon on oh my goodness, what date's the full moon? It's Thursday, right? At 18 degrees of Capricorn. So that's really going to energize the Earth. Capricorn very much in the Earth and the governments. 18 is a completion because it reduces to 9 in the degree point. But in tarot, it's also the moon card. So it also has that resonance of a lot of intuitiveness. So very important full moon as far as like governments go, money, spending, all that kind of stuff, budgets, currencies, all that. And it's going to be a good full moon for us to manifest more in the way of security, money also. So anyway, that's coming up. So Yvonne, the moon is in Capricorn. Yeah, the moon is in Capricorn. It almost gives you like a genius mentality when it comes to seeing how things work in the world and utilizing tools and stuff like that. And you probably like things to be pretty grounded and secure also. People that have Capricorn moons, because our moon sign really is about what makes us tick, basically. The sun sign is sort of a broad general overview of who we are, on a multifaceted level, but the moon is our subconscious, like what really drives us. I'm an Aquarian moon, and if you know me, my personality, you see that fits. I mean, technically, I was born under a void of course moon, but it was at later degrees of Aquarius, technically. So we're going to do a meditation card now. Doing this now. Yeah, Leo Sun is a good balance for Capricorn moon. That's very good. So yeah, so Bobby's you're an Aquarian moon also. Yeah. So all right, so let me just clear my mind a second. I'm asking Spirit to give us the right card to meditate on. And this is the one they drew me to, the Empress, the mother, basically. In the neo-pagan religion and Wicca, there's actually a goddess, a triple goddess. There's the maiden, the mother, and the crone. So the Empress is the mother, the high priestess is the maiden. I think even though it's a male depiction, I believe the hermit would be the crone. In that thinking. So this is about expansion, right? It's key 3. So 3 is the number of expansion. It's Venus energy. That's the resonance of the Empress card in the major arcana is the planet Venus. So it's really about love. It's about opening our hearts. It's about emotions. It's also about money and finance. But to meditate with the tarot card, this is the Hanson Roberts deck, by the way. Pick your Empress card or take a mental snapshot of this one. So here she is right here. And what you do is you get very relaxed, like any other meditation, you get very present, and you're not thinking, you're just open. So you're in the realm more of energy than thought or body, if that makes sense. Like you're not a name, you're not a body, your energy, your frequency. So once you're very present in your mind, you just step into the card. First thing is just gauge the energy, like the before energy. Without going into your personal mind and coming out of presence, just kind of this is how I'm feeling, just very gently in your mind, stepping in, what's different. And that's how we're able to understand the messages. It's intuition taps into the language of frequency, basically the subtleties of changes in electromagnetic resonance. So that's how our intuition works. But within each electromagnetic resonance, there's a story in that. There's a message within that, and then we can access higher consciousness through that. So when we step into the card, it's like, what are we feeling? And then maybe you may get sound, you may see other things behind. This is just the doorway. So when you step in, it may be a whole different scene. There could be like motorcycles here, or a crowd of people watching a concert, or a big beach or desert. But whatever it is, you step in. What do you feel? Maybe you smell, and this very nurturing energy. So the meditation may be about like your own self-nurturance or your own divine feminine. I do feel like we're getting in this period another upswing in divine feminine energy, which for the men, that's very important, by the way. So it's not just about feminine, it's about divine feminine. It's part of our resonance and frequencies. So and that's our intuition, in a way. Our connection to Earth and the moon is through divine feminine, and our connection to the sun and stars is more through divine masculine. But they do overlap. There's always a little bit of yin and the yang, and vice versa. So who's this spirit? This guy. Is it like a mother goddess? Is it Kuan Yin or Mother Mary, or Mary Magdalene's feast day comes up on the 22nd of July? And what do you get? What do you receive? How do you feel? And this may be messages about your own abundance and your own sense of nurturance, or your own sense of self. So in any event, she never left. Very, very good observation. Absolutely. The divine feminine or divine masculine, they never leave. Sometimes the yin is stronger, sometimes the yang is stronger, but it's all there, right? Good. Thanks for pointing that out. So Seven Murders is really. I love that video. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the scientific background that Stefan has. I'll admit that right out. But I am a meteorology major, and I did study some geology. Granted, that was in the 70s, so it's changed a lot. But you know, thanks to Stefan Burns and other people out there that have some knowledge of these sciences more than I do. I'm learning more and more as I go on. Woohoo Venus, yes. Yes, yes, yes. So let's do a 3-card spread now. And let's see, what's going on that way. That seems to be, is there going to be a major event, like a big earthquake or volcano? I feel they're saying more likely the following week. So we'll see if that verifies it all, or like I said, timing. Even when I'm doing personal readings, the timing is always the hardest thing to really pinpoint. But the more we can be in our heart, the more fluid we can be, the quicker things will happen in our lives. So a lot of times I'll do a reading for someone. This is happening in March, and they come back, well, this is happening in May. Then they come back, well, this is happening in August. And at the end of the day, the person's just holding the energy. They're just not allowing things to happen in their lives for one of a number of reasons, basically. But it usually comes down to how personal programming interplays with personal reality, basically, and how our programming really creates our reality to some degree. So anyway, let us do our 3-card spread. So we see that in the collective, and the reason that things tend to slow down rather than speed up, they can speed up also, but more often than not, they slow down, is because our survival instincts makes us fear change, basically. It's that dislike of change that's not predictable unless survivable, according to our subconscious, is helped keep humanity alive for hundreds of thousands of years, about 200,000 for modern human, according to Greg Braden anyways. So we have to learn how to override the base primitive survival instincts, and we do that through presence, through meditation, and linking more with spirit, source, or God, basically. So July 7th, that's tomorrow. Uranus makes its jump into Gemini. So 7 o'clock on 7/7, I'm going to do a live and we're going to do a coherence transmission, basically a heart coherence transmission as well. We'll pool our energies. We'll send energy to the earth, to Texas. We'll see what happens in the Carolinas. The storm's pretty slow, so there may be some flooding issues there also. We'll see what happens when it gets caught up in the Northeast, which I think is going to happen around Thursday or Friday of next week. One of the things that I was seeing for July or for the summer in general was major flooding in the Northeast also, as well as the desert, as well as the Southeast, and anywhere. There's a huge one in China also. So it's just the world we're in. And all right, so 3-card spread. That's next on the agenda. All righty then. All right. Getting hot. All right, let me clear my mind a second. It's funny. They're showing me music, a lot of percussion, a lot of music. So I think it's a message. Keep dancing. You don't stop dancing. You'll never grow old. Is that Log into Messina? Did they do that song or is that somebody else? Am I confusing them? All right. Oh. One of these days, I'll take some time off and learn how to screen share and do more fancy things. But for now, we have the old-fashioned clipboard here. 4 of Swords reverse. Page of Cups. That's a nice energy. Moon card reverse. This is very emotional energy, basically. And it tends to show, like, we've been in a little bit of a lull, believe it or not. I mean, it's hard to believe with all the energy and excitement that's been going on. But energetically, we've been in a little bit of a lull. When this card comes up reverse for me, it's flipping. There's going to be a lot more action. And as I'm talking about that, I'm seeing soldiers. Unfortunately, we may hear more about the global conflicts that are happening. But I like this Page of Cups energy here, because in your life, that could be some kind of good news or an invitation. And I think some of us are going to have unexpected invitations. I get the sense that there may be some leanings towards doing like a spiritual retreat or something like that, or getting more by the water, or if you want to come to the Escape the Matrix retreat that I'm hosting here in the Catskills. That's August 1st through 3rd, and I'll pin information in the pinned comment of this video. And the Moon card, reverse, we've got to really stay centered and grounded, not to allow the programming to hijack our emotions, because that's what programming does. It's in the media, it's in social media. I for a while, there's a couple of weeks that I was just like, when I was on social media, I was just, in a kind way telling people, because they post these memes, and just telling them why the memes were wrong, basically. And that they're really created for divisiveness, and the algorithm supports that, right? So if you create a meme and it's monetized, the more divisive it is, the more Facebook's going to show it, basically. So you're rewarded for basically propagating and enhancing the divide, which weakens people, basically. Divided we fall, right? United we stand. So we really have to be in our hearts and understand that programming is designed. That's what, well, one of the facets of subconscious programming is. It hijacks the emotion, and you think it's your own reaction. Well, no, it's not. It's programmed into you, basically. And try a little experiment, maybe. Scroll. Don't doom scroll, but scroll down on because that's programming too, right? Scroll down, and when something comes up that you don't agree with, instead of reacting to it, be present and what do you feel? I mean, I'm programmed too. I'll see something and I'll have a little bit of a mini I wouldn't say a rage, but a little bit of an anger rush or being upset. But because I'm not in my mind, my personal mind, I'm observing it, I realize that that's just my programming. It's not my spirit. And I think that's a really good exercise for this week for all of us, as we're going through Facebook or whatever, and we see something we don't agree with. And don't try to stop your reactions. Otherwise, you'll never learn where it's from. Instead, be the observer of it, and then you'll have greater understanding. So it's all programmed into us. So hijack our emotions, and what we feel drives everything in our behavior, right? So try not to be angry or upset. Yes, the world's changing. Yes, there's a lot of injustices. Being a Libran, being an 11 life path number, and being born on the 24th, which is about fairness and justice, all that stuff together makes me like one of the first people to react very strongly and negatively when I see an injustice. So it's an exercise that I'm doing. Everything that I preach, I practice, by the way, here on the channel, so you guys know that. And although I draw from other teachers and I do teach what others are teaching, it's really my own experiences, and we all react to things differently. But in any event, getting back to the main point, so understand that it's all programmed that way, and if you keep doing that, you'll start to transcend your programming, especially if you start to do the deprogramming work. Starts with getting your heart and your brain back into coherence through either heart-brain coherence, chakra work, yoga. There's many ways of expanding the frequency of the heart and bringing the coherence to the heart and the brain, bringing that back. I find heart-brain coherence to be a fast track to accomplish that. But I do my breath work, I do my chakra work, I do my yoga. To me, that's all part of heart-brain coherence. And I have probably a dozen videos on the Medium channel on different facets and ways of how to do heart-brain coherence. And you can check out what Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, Heart Math Institute have to say about the practice. But in the middle, when there's a lot of this is almost feels like a lot of stress, a lot of, I've got to do something. The world sucks. I've got to do something. But you've got to get out of that programming, right? Because otherwise, you're just feeding the programming. So, and I've said this in different ways for the last couple of months. So a bit of a repeat of information, but the thing is that if you're again, if you're seeing, you don't like the spending bill, you don't like that they trying to change the name of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. It'll always be Gulf of Mexico to me, but I'll use both terms to respect everybody's viewpoints and opinions on that. So where was I? Need some water. So in any event, so when that comes up, again, observe your reactions, but a lot of times people get angry, they get upset and feel like this is not right. I've got to do something. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. The other thing. What I want you guys to understand is if you're in that state of mind that you've been triggered by something, whatever actions you're choosing are much more likely to feed the problem than the solution. So what you do instead is you recognize where you're programmed, right? You recognize why you're reacting. You get very meditative. You call on God, spirit, source, your guides, the extraterrestrials, whatever you work with, and just ask your higher self, what can I do? And then you're going to draw from spirit, and then your actions are going to be part of the solution. They're not just going to feed the problem. They're not just going to feed that anger, that anxiety, that fear, that shame, that guilt, that worry, whatever it is. Important message. The more of us that do that, the smoother the transition into New Earth is going to be. It doesn't have to be so bumpy. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So hang in there and have a plan in case power goes out in your area or your services are cut or whatever it is. Have a plan, but know it's going to get better. It's a process that has to happen. When the tower falls, there's a lot of rubble. There's a lot of struggles that happens, but then the dust settles and then we rebuild on the stronger foundations. That's exactly what's happening here on the earth. So let me do some other divination tools and move forward with that. I'm seeing my medicine. Oh, let me do the Native American tarot just to augment what I was saying. So hello, Allison. Hello, Millie. If I didn't say hi to you earlier, Drew, welcome. Welcome. Very good. Hello, Kevin. Welcome, Fractal Awareness. Be aware that we're in a fractal universe. So the frequency that changes the tendency of the fractals or to self-replicate, basically. That's the 369 code. 0 is the void, spirit before manifestation. 1's the manifestation. 2's the duality. And 3, and all its multiples are the energies or consciousness or frequency, both that act on, that act on the physical world and create change. It's like our will, our strength, our ability to transmit spiritual information into our physical lives to change our lives. So if you do law of attraction and you work with multiples of 3s, it's going to be stronger because of that, because it naturally taps into that force of change that changes the fractals, right? So I just had to, because of fractal awareness here. Yes, self-replication, recursive, and exactly. Yes, you said that very, very well. Thank you. So saying acting very strangely. Fireworks also, all this stuff, it not only releases heat, but it releases energy that affects the space around. And if you understand the butterfly effect, which is a function of a branch of quantum physics known as chaos theory, I believe. If I'm mistaken and you know better, let me know. That if a butterfly flaps its wings, there's a breeze that's felt all around the world. I mean, if you're in China, you're not going to feel it, right? Because it's 0.000001. But in any event, and they're also talking about the circle with no circumference. Understand that everything's a continuum. The circle is not fixed; it's always moving. That's why there's no value for pi. There's no physical value for the number pi. You'll go into infinity, 3.141578 on and on and on. And that just shows the circle has no circumference. It's ever changing, basically. I mean, I know pi is used for the radius, but twice the radius of a circle is the circumference. So anyhow, this is what through Native American wisdom and the impressions of tarot by this particular author, we got the chief of seals. We're getting a lot of chiefs, which are kings. Shields is pentacles, right? So that's the earth, and our shields, our medicine shield, is basically a symbolic representation of who we are in some of the Native American nations, anyways. So they're like in the Plains people, for example, there are 44 major medicine shields that just sort of represents what your spirit and what your energy is. And, he's kind of, in a way, like he's looking back. So this is interesting. He's looking back and the shield is back, kind of like on the donkey's ass. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Although I think it's a horse, not a donkey, but I still couldn't resist. And he's looking back at the shield. So maybe, another thing I didn't mention in the beginning is that we're in an approach to the next Mercury retrograde. That hits the 15th or 16th? Yeah, just in a week or so, we're in another Mercury retrograde. So this might be a good time to look back, not in a way of getting stuck in the past or anything like that, but more learning from the past. So it's like, what steps led me to where I am now, and how can I change the now? Because that'll change the past, at least your relationship to it, which will change your future, what you're creating and manifesting in your life. And also, I feel like for some of us, this is a caution to watch our back, because the shield is at the back of the figure, basically. You watch our back. Some of us may experience somebody trying to double cross us, screw us over. I mean, I know that's been going on a lot of times, because people are just so programmed into fear that they forget, to be nice and to be kind and to honor other people, basically. So, extreme fear leads to extreme selfishness, because it's a survival instinct, basically. Nothing wrong with being selfish. We have to take care of ourselves, but we have to be selfless also. We have to be aware that self, there is no self. That's an illusion also. We're part of a grand symphony of energies, that we're one note in that grand symphony, basically. And if we change that one note, it changes the whole symphony, right? So selfishness when it comes to taking good care of yourself, not letting people get over on you, holding your boundaries, saying no when you need to say no. I've been called selfish so many times in my life, and you know what? So be it. I'm still going to honor my boundaries. I'm not going to get guilted and shamed for honoring my own boundaries, because I'm also very considerate. Can you be selfish and considerate at the same time? I think so, because I am. But it's a healthy selfishness, right? So, oh, very good. I want to post this comment, because very, very good. Your second meeting of this guy was Chief. He's one of my guys now. I got a really good reading years ago from Patricia Price at Lilydale, and I used to do readings there also, and teach and learn. And basically, she picked up on two of my guides and my father. It was a great reading. First medium, not second medium. Okay. It is called Boundaries. Thank you for taking 3 minutes of conversation and bringing that into one sentence. Thank you so much, Mary. We need you guys to help me out. So let's move on to the medicine card. So now that we're in the Native American theme right now, okay. So I'm asking spirits. I'm seeing a porcupine. It's funny. They always plant an image in my mind. I'm seeing a porcupine, and I want to get the right card. Nope. I'm thinking too much. Let me clear my mind. Okay. They're laughing at me. It's telling me to tell you guys, always laugh at yourself too. It's fun. It's fine to make fun of yourself. Wow, we got the Raven. Yeah, porcupine is very innocent. It's very self-protective also. We were talking about that. Maybe that's why I got the porcupine quills. Do you guys know about spirit mirrors? That's a nice psychic self-defense technique. If you feel like somebody's trying to cord you or send you negative energy, or just going out in the world, because people are very, very crazy out there. What you do in your mind is you just visualize a lot of silver light around you. There's different ways of doing spirit mirrors, but the way that I do it, I just get very relaxed, visualize a lot of silver. Then in my mind, I flip the silver so it's facing outward like a mirror. It's almost like I see a black background, but it's facing outward. And I'm not sending the energy back to the person. I'm just deflecting it away. God's spirit or source can decide where that energy is going to go to. I'm not going to do that. But if I find somebody very persistent, and I've had that, people trying to do black magic on me and all kinds of crazy freaking things. Um, when I find that they're breaking through my mirrors, the next thing I do is I pretend I'm a porcupine. I put my quills out. I see them trying to advance. It's not nice, but I see like the blood also, and I see them withdrawing. So far, knock on wood, every time that's worked and that's kept negative people. But we're allowed to defend ourselves, right? We're spiritual warriors. We want peace. We want to be in love. We want to be in these high vibes. But in this world where there's forces that are trying to take that away from us, sometimes we have to be able to defend ourselves. And being a martial artist, that's how I came into all this work. I it's my belief system, and I carry this in my energy fields, which is why I can go into the worst neighborhood in the world. I did that, with when a couple of kids were surrounded by a bunch of crackheads, and I saw them. What I did is I put my hand in my pocket so it looked like I had a gun. I went straight into this, near Port Authority. Those of you in the city, and this is back in the early '90s, that's one of the worst neighborhoods in Manhattan. There's a lot of crime there, a lot of crack there. So I went right in. I just beamed my energy right in the center of the circle. So I projected, opened my heart, projected with my third eye right in the center of that circle. Went right in. They all scattered, to the winds, and I didn't have to fight anybody. Basically, that's what Bruce Lee calls the art of fighting without fighting. It's the use of strategy and warriorship. So the Raven's about magic, about mystery, about the hidden, about the unknown, about the arcane, basically. And I think it's a reminder of us to, firstly, because it's black, firstly, remember that our shadows aren't negative. They're just hidden, basically. And if we're able to expose light onto the shadows, we can integrate all that power of the unknown and the hidden into the conscious realm and into our lives for our benefit and the benefit of others, basically. So this teaches us about our personal magic, and how even if you have a thought and you charge it with an emotion, you might as well be burning a candle and reciting an incantation, like literally doing magic on somebody, basically, because it may not be as focused, but it has a similar effect, right? Because how do we manifest reality? We think, that's the brain, right? We have a vision in our mind of what we desire. We feel grateful for it. We have a feeling, that's the heart. The heart and the brain blend. We change the frequencies on the quantum level. And if we are persistent and keep doing that, it starts to change on a macro level. So if you're resenting somebody, it's like, this person did this to me, I want this to happen, and you're feeling it, then you're basically you're changing the energies that are affecting that person and doing magic, basically. So understanding that what we might call magic, if you practice Wicca or ceremonial magic or whatever it is, that's happening all the time, basically. So be aware of what you're thinking, be aware of what you're feeling. And no, you don't have to have a positive thought every second of the day, because then you might as well. That means you're an enlightened master. So maybe go up to the Himalayas and meditate and help the planet, if that's the case. No, we're meant to have both what we would call positive and negative emotion. The thing is, we recognize and clear the negative, and we feed the positive, right? It's the wolf you feed, basically. So anyway, that's what I have to say. This is what the Raven is telling me. Thank you, Mary, for that. I like that. Careful the tale you tell. That is the spell. Absolutely, right? Uh, well, good for you. Yeah, we have giant crows here. I thought they were ravens, but they're actually crows. They're really big. Because ravens make a different sound. We have ravens too, but they're even bigger than giant crows. That's a good point, Allison, and thank you. That we have to also be aware of what we're watching, and what we're consuming, like on YouTube and social media and stuff like that, because there's a lot of subliminal and a lot of that ceremonial magic. Yes, you can quote Edgar Allan Poe all the time, and I'll love you for that. Um, Oh, I think what song? It's the Eggman, that John Lennon Beatles song. Kicking Edgar Allan Poe, I am the Eggman. Woo! All right, let's move on. Yeah, I don't personally have the evidence of that, but my intuition tells me that yes, indeed, that they do satanic rituals, and I do believe that what we call the Kabbalah or deep state, they know astrology, they know numerology, they know how energy works, they know how to manipulate that, using energy as well as technology now and everything. Because it's all, the progress of society, it's all been prearranged and it's playing out now, but what they may not be counting on is people awakening faster than anticipated. So keep spreading the light, keep awakening and helping others do that. So let's see what this deck has to say. This is Kyle Gray, Divine Masters Oracle, I think. It's one of Kyle Gray's decks anyway. I love that song. I love that. That's one of my favorite Beatles songs. Yeah. Hi, Sal. I agree with you. Yeah, if you look at his work, that's pure genius. I have to agree with that. How's your favorite? Right. Very good. Um, I agree. Right. I think to some degree we all do, but you more than others probably. Hey, Laura. Kukuki too. Yeah. Um, and we live in a world that's dark and light. It's the wolf you feed, right? But we don't want to be afraid of the dark. In fact, we want to embrace it and integrate it. All right, so this is Kyle Gray. Back to Kyle Gray. Here we go. Jesus, we got him once before. Yeshua, if you prefer that. Christ, if you prefer that. Acts of service. When you serve, the universe serves you. And that was get back to my martial arts and my martial arts teacher. One of his lines is, "We serve to be served." And part of learning martial arts, he was actually kind of a Jekyll and Hyde, but I'm not going to get into that story. But when he was in his spiritual self, this was a very very enlightened man. My martial arts teacher, and one of his sayings is that we serve to be served. So it's part of the the advancement in the martial arts or acts of service also. And one day I was going over for a private lesson, all ready to work out. He's just sitting, on the floor of the living room of his house. So I went to his house, and he just said to me, "If I'm going to teach you how to kill people, I have to teach you how to heal people." And I started to learn shiatsu, like acupressure, at that time. And God, this was like in the I think around 1980, the early 80s. You're in time for Jesus came for you, Laura. You've been saved. I'm sorry. I'm not making fun of anybody. I promise. Just a harmless humor. Um, but then for the Jethro Tull fan, which to me is like pure ear candy, especially from Think of It as a Brick and before. Although Songs from the Wood was really good too. They were good in all their incarnations. But anyway, if Jesus saved, he better save himself from the glory seekers who use his name in was it death or vain? I forgot the line. That's from hymn 43 from Aqualung album. And so serve to be served, right? We serve others. That's how we serve ourselves. And my story of the he's known as well, his name in Machu Picchu was Juan de Dios, but it wasn't the John of God that came under so much scandal years ago. It was a different Juan de Dios, um, but he had a very powerful shaman. He facilitated Wachuma or ceremonies, which was San Pedro. So I did about 3 or 4 of those with him. But I did a weekend retreat with him, and I had my use an example of serve to be served, right? Or giving away. That's like a Native American custom that we did give away what we hold near and dear to our heart, and then Spirit returns that manyfold to us, basically. So we serve to be served, we give to receive. So I had this smoky quartz crystal. It had angels in it. It was the most powerful crystal I've ever owned in my life. Beautiful, beautiful crystal. So I went to this weekend retreat. Before I went in, I got the idea to give him that as a gift. That came to me. So we did 2 Wachuma ceremonies in 3 days. We did a despacho, not gazpacho, a despacho ceremony, which is a beautiful, for those of you that have done it, it's a beautiful South American, mostly Peruvian tradition of, again, it's like giving thanks and honoring the spirits and everything. So I gave this to him, and I said, Spirit told me to give this to you. And he kind of looked at it, looked at me, and he looked at it again, and he looked at me again. Then he said, would you mind if I use this crystal to send you more healing, after the retreat? And I was like, this was, he was such a powerful healer, and I just saw like him go around doing the limpias, the healing around the circle. And there was one lady that wasn't handling the medicine well. She was coughing, she was crying. It was horrible. He goes over to him. He just does a couple things with his feather, waves his feather, then moves away, and then all of a sudden the woman stops crying. She stops coughing. And I mean, that's how good of a healer this man. He was the chief shaman of Machu Picchu for a time, and I was honored to be able to work with him. So anyway, that's again acts of service. So that's the energy of this card. So let's do 1 or 2 more, a couple more. I want to just quickly do Isis Oracle because I love this deck. I love the Egyptian mysteries also. Oh, okay. Oh, Johnny, or the red chili pepper thing. Yeah, and there's the band Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? So yeah, learn from the horn. Yeah, I just look at your comments. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Come on with a bang. Yeah, firecracker. I guess that's born on the 4th of July. I think what song, that song by Nirvana about the 4th of July. One of my favorite Bruce Springsteen songs. It's not my favorite, but he's got some brilliant work out there. Was the song Sandy, which is also about the 4th of July. I think from his first album. All right. So anyhow, for the Isis Oracle deck, we've got Temple of Carnelian entering the fierce belly of Sekhmet. So we're coming up to Lionsgate portal. It really starts around the 27th, 28th, 29th of July when we're first seeing the star Sirius in the pre-dawn hours, basically. The pre-dawn hours, right? Yeah. And then it peaks on 8/8, right? The heart of Leo, season. So and that's Sekhmet season. Last year at Spirit Fest, and Jared was there. Maybe a couple of others that are on were there. Yeah. Yvonne was there. So in any event, and it turned out to be a Sekhmet initiation, and since I was facilitating it and doing the healings and activations through me, they were initiating me at the same time, and a lot of us that summer into the autumn. Millie was there too. We went through some major life changes around that time, and Josh wasn't there physically, but his energy was there. So he got to benefit from that also of from his channel, Mr. Floyd's Universe. Any you guys that you have YouTube channels, please post your links for us for our community so they can find you also. I know a lot of you do. So, so entering the belly of Sekhmet. Sekhmet is strength, it's power, it's will, right? She's the lion goddess. She might have been the Lyran starseed. Because when I did a Sekhmet channeling once, what came through, I don't have any way of verifying it, was that there were 12 Sekhmets. There weren't just one, and they were from what was it, Vega, from the Lyran system. That's where, according to Dolores Cannon, and others, Lily Nova and other researchers of extraterrestrial intelligence and interactions, that the cat and lion people came from that planet or that star system. So anyhow, there you have the temple of Carnelian honoring Sekhmet, and we're coming into her season also. So anyhow, just want to do the frequency, and we'll all get on with our day after that. Yeah, I'm part Lyran starseed. I definitely I identify mostly with Arcturian, but I'm such a cat person, such a cat lover, and when I was 4, on Christmas, I'll never forget this day in my life, because we wanted a cat, and under the tree was a Siamese kitten, and that was named Strephon after the character from Pirates of Penzance. My parents were big Gilbert and Sullivan fan. I'm almost 67, so I'm an older generation than a lot of you, but and that cat saved my childhood. I mean, there's no no missing word with that. There's times I felt like I was from another planet. It's like, I love my family. They're all in the spirit world, both of my brothers included. So it's nothing against them. I just was not part of that energy, and I felt always alone. But this cat really saved me emotionally, basically, and lived to 17, which for a purebred Siamese, although back then they were breeding them with the Burmese, so he had a darker back than but not as long of a face. So some people didn't like the longer snouts on the Siamese. I don't know why. So I think every like third or fourth generation that they'd add a little bit of Burmese, but for all intents and purposes, he's a purebred Seal Point Siamese. But anyway, moving right along. So yes. So in other words, yes, I'm Lyran also. Or is it Lyran or Lyran? I think it's Lyran, but Divine Feminine. So we got Divine Feminine earlier. I put the Sekhmet card away. That was dumb, but I did. Which is Sekhmet's Divine Feminine, right? We were talking about Divine Feminine earlier. Now that's the frequency of the week. Divine Feminine. That's, we got our companion, our intuition, right? That's more of a Divine Feminine. Divine Masculine is more of the action energy. This is more the receptive energy, the Divine Feminine, or the connecting energy, whereas the Divine Masculine might be helping others connect, leading that. It's all one energy, right? Anyways, so two parts of the same one, but the frequency of Divine Feminine supports our receptive, nurturing its soul side, allowing it to express itself openly and helping us to connect to our intrinsic understanding of our connection to all of creation. And you can definitely get more more vibes just by gazing in the center of this and just absorbing the sacred geometry, basically. Thank you, Drew. Yeah, fireworks. Yeah, I like your style. If we don't like fireworks, I have mixed feelings about it personally. We can flip things. We can turn a negative into a positive. because from the realm of spirit, negative and positive does not exist. It just is, right? We judge this to be negative for whatever reason. People are dying, people are suffering. So we see that as negative, and then we see something else as positive, but that's just our viewpoint. That's just how we view it. As far as energy goes, it's just energy. Until we put a label on it, it's not negative or positive. It just is, right? So anyway, let's do a quick angel message and then we'll break. Yeah, tomorrow at 7 on 7/7. Yeah, let's do a transmission. I kind of had made up my mind up an hour and 15 minutes ago. I have now. Tyler. Oh yeah. I don't I don't know if Tyler's work as much. But for little I know, I really respect him. Yeah, the Journey to Tyler had an amazing story about his experience with the cat opening his heart. I believe it. This cat opened my heart basically, and I didn't know anything about the heart, but I put him right on my heart chakra, and that purr. You put a purring cat in your heart chakra, it's like nirvana, right? So maybe Tyler and I would get along well then. Horses too. Yeah, horses are amazing beings also, right? Horses are amazing beings. And I'm wondering, horses, I think, were gifted to us. I think everything, on this planet, I think, or this is my belief. It's not necessarily proven, but my belief is this is a terraformed planet that was either created or more likely fashioned than created in order to house life, basically. And I think a lot of these, like horses, were gifted to us. Cows, certainly. Oh God, what was the name of the cows before they were cows and bulls? Yeah, my 67-year-old brain. In any event, and cats too, and dolphins, whales, especially humpback whales. They did a nice Star Trek movie, which I think was very well researched. They didn't say that the whales were specifically from the Pleiades, but it was a good movie. I think it's the fourth Star Trek movie. Anyway, last but not least, Chantel. So this might be about romantic love. New romance is imminent, either with a newcomer or through a reignited passion in your existing relationship. Be open to giving and receiving love. And again, give to receive to give, right? It's a yin and yang. It's positive, negative, right? It doesn't mean good or bad. It doesn't mean black or white. But it's just like the movement of energy. So next Sunday, let me know who falls in love in this group. But on that note, we're gonna break for now. Don't forget the squirrels. How can we forget the squirrels? Yeah, I have so many squirrels around me. I don't know about mosquitoes, but maybe they have some gift also. I don't know. Certainly the bats do, because they eat the mosquitoes, right? All right. Anyway, so that's what I have for you. Thank you. So tomorrow at 7, we'll be back to do some energy work, some heart coherence work, and to send a lot of love and healing, to the planet, to each other, and stuff like that. All right, Hariom Huda, aka Jared, and thank you everybody. Love you.